I think the first thing you need to do is imagine what growth looks like, the pathway in terms of growth.
Let's partner up for good with NESCAFÉ. Hello and welcome to Let's Partner Up for Good, NESCAFÉ, supporting your business journey. I'm Dave Sharp, a proud small business owner, a sole trader actually, and I'll be your host for this session. So let's talk about the campaign. The campaign was set up so that NESCAFÉ could support all small businesses with their insights and advice. They've got a lot of experience, and the campaign is all about sharing that and spreading the goodwill and making sure that small businesses flourish. So what they've done is they've provided us with a few experts in their field. They'll be joining us for these discussions. We've also got our resident expert, which is Deborah Meaden, entrepreneur and investor. Best known, of course, for Dragon's Den, amongst many other things. So welcome, Deborah. Nice to see you here. You'll see NESCAFÉ experts popping in as well. But what NESCAFÉ have done, they've surveyed small business owners and asked them about their challenges. And there are a few common themes that come up. So business growth is one. Sustainability is another, and workplace well-being. These are three key areas, and we're going to focus on those in our sessions. But the first one is all about business growth. So I'm joined by Deborah. You're known for wanting to support small businesses, and it's a passion of yours, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I said, we're amongst my tribe, this is where I feel at home. I feel comfortable. I love creativity. I love energy, but I also recognize a lot of the challenges. I don't know if I've seen all of the challenges. You might be able to bring me up another one, but I do recognise the challenges, particularly at the beginning of people's journeys.
Let's talk as well to our expert from NESCAFÉ. This is Katja Simmons. Katja, tell us a little bit about your role at NESCAFÉ.
So I'm Managing Director for Nestlé Professional in the UK and Ireland, and NESCAFÉ is one of our jewel brands, and we're very proud to support small and medium businesses across the UK with different initiatives.
Business owners, I've got Katie next to me. Hi, Katie. Tell us a little bit about your business.
I'm the co-founder of Picture News, and we make a weekly news resource for schools in the UK predominantly at the moment. I came up with the idea of Picture News is young people are more and more exposed to what's happening in the world around us. And I used to teach, and when I was teaching, there was nothing to help children learn more about it. So I decided to create my own resource, and we've grown from strength to strength.
And I've got Patrick and Jack, who are brothers. Sawn to be Wild. Tell us about that.
So, Sawn to be Wild. My brother and I have an existing business which we manufacture timber windows and doors, and we've been on a journey to make that business more sustainable. And when you go on that journey, you are forced to look at your business and where waste is being created. And one of the big problems for us was wood waste. And we went off, did a bit of research, and discovered that 4.5 million tonnes of wood waste is created each year. That's just in the UK. And a lot of that waste comes from the manufacturing and construction industry. So we're also passionate about wildlife and the environment. And as you all know, that we've had a massive decline in biodiversity just in our short lifetimes. And we wanted to make a difference to that. So we're taking that waste, turning that waste into products that promote biodiversity. And initially, our initial product offering will be things like bird boxes, bee hotels, a variety of species as well, like bats and other bird species. But yeah, that's what we do.
What's your question?
My first question is, it's really about how we can go into a new market. So at the moment, we are growing really well in the UK schools market. But what we'd quite like to do is grow internationally and sell to English learning schools and colleges overseas. As I was a teacher and then I've had experience in education and sales, I'm quite familiar with the route to market in the UK for schools, but it's knowing how to find a new route to market and where to start really internationally, I think.
So have you narrowed down where you want to be?
So there's a few places that we think would be good places to start. We've had a little bit of interest from Malaysia and Greece because there's lots of English language is a huge priority and they have quite high levels of English. So our resource would lend itself quite well in those markets. But I think we're at the stage where we don't want to compromise on what we're doing in the UK. And as a small team, we don't have a huge amount of resources to in a way take a gamble of going overseas.
So that's quite very interesting what you just said there. So you've had interest from Malaysia and Greece, and it'd be very tempting to think, well, we've had interest from them, so that's where we need to go. But what you need to do is think, what's your most likely? What is the next market that you're most likely to be able to connect with and support? Because that's your worry. Your worry is that you will actually, somebody else will do it over there and you have no control. And suddenly your brand, everything you do is going to be diluted. So I think the first thing you need to do is imagine what growth looks like, the pathway in terms of growth. So where would my ideal country be first, rather than responding just to somebody who might have simply through luck have found you. That might just be it. So work out your pathway. That would be my first thing, I would say. And I think you probably need to find a partner in country. They'll know the language. They'll know the idiosyncrasies, because your product actually will look slightly different in each country. It might use a slightly different language. News might be consumed in a slightly different way. So I think it's really helpful to have somebody, whether that's a business partner, whether that's somebody who just works alongside you, whether it's a consultant, but can actually help you find your way through the idiosyncrasies of local markets. Because I promise you, the amount of people who've said to me, we're going into the US, and I'm saying, well, you might as well say you're going into the moon. It's so different to the way we go to the UK. You're nodding, Katia. It's very, very different. So I think finding a bit somebody to help you, guide you through that. Once you've decided your priority list, that's my first place I want to go to, is also, in this instance, take one step. If you try to deal with a lot of countries, you're going to make a lot of errors. So I would try the first one, learn what your errors are going to be, learn the sensitivities, and then you can actually roll out, because you'll have a lot more knowledge once you've had experience of that first market.
Yeah, thank you. It's really helpful.
Great advice. And of course, NESCAFÉ are an international brand, so you're in international markets. What would you add to what Deborah said?
Yeah, we do operate in 180 markets. But you know what? I fully agree and with Deborah. But at the same time, I'd like to flip it on the other side and think, who is going to be interested in coming to the UK? So, for example, let's say you identified Dubai or United Arab Emirates as your target market. Can you connect with Al Jazeera and say, actually, I want to take some of your news and bring it into the UK, because they will be highly interested. And actually, that would be bringing the widest breadth of news to the British kids. And that's, I would say that's highly important for their development in the future, to have the breadth. In the same time, you might get a partner and the support and potentially an investment. So look at who is interested to come to the UK, and vice versa. That would be your potential market.
Yeah, thank you. That's really interesting. Yeah, thank you.
We're talking about business growth, of course, and you don't want to compromise what you're doing already. You want to grow what you're doing in the UK, but you've already mentioned that you want to expand. So you're curious, aren't you, about what to do next for the business in the UK?
I think so, yeah. I think we are quite a small team as a small business, and we are, about half of us are former teachers and from education. And I think it's how we can grow in different ways without and still continue growing in the UK if we're going to explore the international market. I think it's a sort of classic juggling dilemma of where we next go. And I think it's a nice problem to have, because it's almost, who should our next employee be, and where should we be kind of channeling our time and focus to grow.
Do you know what your growth looks like? Can you imagine what the fully grown business is? Could you describe it to me?
Yes. So at the moment we are in about 1 in 4 UK primary schools. I envisage that we will be in around half within the next kind of 5 to 8 years. So I can fully imagine our UK business and essentially being a household name in the sector. For the international, I can see it being utilised within countries as a key learning resource. That's probably not as clear in my head.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Well, clarity is, I think, too, you're right. You're thinking about the right things, which is, who do I need? Yours is very much a people business, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and I expect there's also a bit of anxiety around you letting go. You know, the more people there are, how do I make sure that they are the right people? So you're asking the right questions. You need to, I always say, business in its early stages is constantly underpeopled and then overpeopled and then underpeopled and then overpeopled, because you know there's sort of that tension. You think, oh, we're so busy, you know, I don't know what to do, and then you have to take a step to bring on probably more people than you currently need, because the good news is you're imagining, you can see what, you know, where you're going. So that is, you know, defining that is really important. Within that structure, and only you can work that out, you do need an entire, and you must have it at the moment, but an entire training and cultural and standards department. You know, I mean, their sole job is to make sure that as people come on board, they are carrying your culture, you're carrying the things you care about, that not just I can do the job. You know, there's often too much focus on, I can do that. There's less focus on, do you feel it? Do you care about it? Because I think that's what you're keen to hold on to, and you're right to do so. Yeah. So I think, you know, you need to make sure that it doesn't become a tick box. You know, you get people in going, they're doing that, that's completely fine. But there is a way of actually divulging your culture, you know, sharing your culture. At the moment, you're probably holding quite a lot of that personally. Yeah. What about the people around you? Are they holding it too, or are they delivering the product?
No, I think at the moment we're in a really good place in terms of the team have really support the culture. I think because a lot of the team are from education backgrounds, they care as much as I do about everything. And I think it's ensuring, because we've never appointed a sales team as such, it's ensuring that they would be the same, I think, and that's where we
right.
find it hard.
So the other tip I would give you, because I do actually use bonuses within some of my businesses, you know, so I will say, but bonuses for me are not about profit. I think they're the worst kind of bonus you can possibly come up with, is one that just says at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. If you are going to reward through a bonus, make sure that the bonus is driving those changes. So I only, when I think about my holiday parks, and I was dealing with 150,000 people on site a year, so customer care was really important, 10% was on profit. 90% was on customer service, empathy, you know, customer, it was all about the customer. Well, actually, it wasn't all about the customer. It was all about the customer and all about how they were working with each other. Because if that's not working well, you know, if the team isn't working well, then it doesn't flow through to the customer.
What kind of things do you measure in terms of for targets?
So for me, I would use things like the customer surveys. I would use interviews with the people who are working alongside them, because everybody has a different view. You know, you stand in and they might interview really well, and you think these people are absolutely brilliant, and then you have somebody working with them who will say they're a nightmare. You know, so interview. You've got to ask the questions around to establish. So we would use customer satisfaction, sustainability, you know, and you're so right, you've got to put your measures in. I can't tell you what your measures are. You know what's important to your business. You know what's important to you in delivering the business, and make sure that you get those into any kind of reward that you're going to give people.
Katia, what would your advice be?
And again, I just would like to flip your view on your business, because sometimes what we have, we don't appreciate what is already on our hands. You have access to thousands of schools in the UK. So think, who are the companies who can be interested in getting their message to schools, which is very much aligned what you want to deliver. So let's say, for example, secondary schools, they have a very clear objectives to deliver career talks to their students and support their students with choices. Companies like Nestlé and different industries have a very strong interest in terms of sharing how to grow their careers. So you can connect these two industries, and companies would invest into you to make these connections. So think about this. You have touch points that others would be highly interested in. So how can you utilize this? And again, it's highly on the subject in terms of you supporting education, you broadening views for the students in the UK across the country. So how well automated your business is?
So this is something we've gone on a real journey. Initially, I wanted to do everything myself, and it's really hard to let go of things and delegate, but it's something that we realised quite quickly to scale and to be able to grow, that we had to invest in IT for automation. It was a really important next step.
Yeah, no, that's just to reiterate, that's critically important that you invest in value-added activities and you outsource non-value-added activities for your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Patrick, Jack, your second business which you're launching is a new business, and I know that you're keen to get ideas about how to make that a success and launch it.
Yeah, so we're used to selling big ticket items to maybe 7 or 8 customers a week. We've never sold like high volumes to lots of different people. What's the best way to launch a business like that in 2024?
A high volume business or B2C? What are you thinking?
I think Patrick's point is we have to, for us to make a dent in that 4.5 million tonnes, we have to sell a lot of products.
Yes.
Whereas at the moment we're used to, I think we do 35 to 40 items per week, which, essentially what's the best way to launch a business like that needs to move a lot of product?
So you're selling online, I guess, at the moment. Do you have a website? Oh, deep breath there.
Nearly. It's not quite launched. We're nearly there with it.
Okay, well, there's job number one. Because I suspect your volume is going to come from B2B, isn't it? It's going to come from the construction industry. You can probably solve a lot of their problems. But there still is often space for the B2C bit, direct to consumer, because that's kind of your shop window. That tells your story. And that underpins, you can start saying to the construction industry, well, we know it matters because the consumers are telling us it matters, so you get to understand the full story. So I definitely think you need to finish your website that I presume you're working on at the moment. Excellent. You need to tell your story well. Why are you better? These are the reasons I'm better. And then I think you can start making, once you've developed products that the construction industry will use, the bird boxes are lovely, but you can find lots of very sustainable bird boxes. I suspect you're kind of using those as a trial. What can we make?
Introduction, yeah.
As an introduction. And then when you can start making, you solve a problem. Bit of advice on the construction industry. They don't like change. That means that they don't like change of product and they don't like change of process. So when you do come up with a better alternative, make sure it's easy to explain to them, A, why it's better, and B, why they really don't have to change a lot of their processes. Because they really, a lot of contractors, if you think about it, lots of contractors doing different things, trying to get a process changed is difficult. So try and keep close to the processes that they use.
Thank you.
Katia, NESCAFÉ, Nestlé, they've launched many, many products. Soon to be Wilder, ready to launch. What's your advice?
Yeah, first of all, I would say you really have to be clear on the market which you can scale up, where you can scale up. Then you would understand better where is this market, where the consumers or where the businesses that would buy or use these products. So then your answer to the question is going to be much easier. I think what is really important in your mind, be quite open for failure. Trial and error. But in the same time, it's quite difficult to reinvent your own babies and address your own mistakes. So be fast enough to see your own mistake and say, yeah, I made a mistake, not to worry. So that would be, from a cultural point of view, my strong advice.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got another question from you. I'm pretty sure your challenge, you were telling me earlier, is all about how do I get other people to care as much as I care about sustainability in those products?
Yeah, that's right, Dave. We're always like, we care about it. How can we make the customer care about it, or do they care about it? We want to try and get that across.
The thing around sustainability is everybody immediately thinks it's going to cost them more money. And also they're going to have to change their processes, or they're going to have to change their mindset. So I think you need to speak in a language that addresses their particular fears, because then you actually attract people who really don't care whether it's sustainable or not. They buy it because it's lovely, and it's at a price that they want to buy it at. And then when they've got your lovely thing, you could be the route for them to think, actually, this matters, so you can become part of the change. So I think the most important thing is to see the barriers, see the anxiety barriers. This is going to sound, most of business is blinking obvious, isn't it, really? But until somebody plays it back to you, you've got to find your better. What's my better? Now, sadly, at the moment, being sustainable, I don't think is the full story, because it's quite a small market of people who will absolutely just buy because of sustainability. It's a market, but it's a small market. So if you can find your other better, it's not just about sustainability. It's stronger, it's more beautiful, it's great value. Whatever your better is, define that and speak in that language when you're talking to your consumer. So then you do the thing you really want to do. I spend my life talking to people who care about sustainability, and I'm thinking, that's lovely, but I really want to be reaching the people who don't care about sustainability. They're the ones who I really want to attract, because you are doing this with passion. You've got a business that's already successful, so this really is hard. So I think, find your better. That would be and then speak in a language that addresses that.
Thank you, Deborah. That's great advice, yeah.
Katia, I know that you've got some ideas for the boys.
Yeah, I probably would. I perfectly understand sustainability story. It is not just a story; it's really the practice and how you build your business, and it's fundamental. But at the same time, in order to address as many consumers and to make a difference, when I hear you 4.5 million tons of waste, and in the same time I see the bird nest or the bee house, I see quite a big difference in terms of the scale. So how do you understand what are the other? And I've seen that you're trying to get into the furniture. So what is the size of the market? How at best you can create really scale behind this? Because if I go to Amazon, kind of bee houses, I can find at least 20 or 30. They all rated above 4.7. So fundamentally, coming back, what's your competitive advantage? It's not an easy market. So where can you identify this potential opportunity, how you can reuse the waste that you already have, and maybe from other suppliers, and really scale it?
Thanks to our experts for sharing their advice and their insights. If you'd like further tips on business growth, then visit nestleprofessional.co.uk.